everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Alex and today I'm going to be doing the currently reading book tag thanks to being tagged by my friend Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures. There are 10 prompts for the currently reading tag and each one is about my specific reading habits. So the first one is, how many books do you read at once? Typically, I'm only going to be reading one book at a time, with the exception being if I am reading a fiction book and a non-fiction book. I won't read 2 fiction books at once, and I won't read 2 non-fiction books at once. It has to be fiction and nonfiction. I am new to the realm of reading nonfiction. I read 2 memoirs this year, both of which I greatly enjoyed, but for me, I kind of needed that what I would call a palate cleanser after I'm going through and hearing about the trauma of somebody's actual life, of needing to then go and delve into a fictional world where I at least know if there's something bad happening there that it's not real. And I know that might sound kind of silly, but I'm a deeply empathetic person. I feel a lot for other people and their experiences and what they've been through. So if I know that something is going to be emotionally taxing, I just have to have that little something else that hopefully won't hurt me quite as bad. Now here's the real question. Do any of you use the phrase palate cleanser? Because I think I might be the only one that does when referencing books. I don't know anybody else that does that isn't talking about like wine. So for number 2, I have, if you're reading more than one book at a time, how do you decide to switch to reading the other book? Do you read a certain amount of pages each? No. I will go until I emotionally feel exhausted, and that's the truth. Like if I am reading, let's say, a nonfiction, and I just got through the absolute worst childhood trauma that I have ever read in my life, which is how I felt when I was reading Viola Davis's Finding Me, which was exceptional, and I loved it, but it was hard. It was a hard book to read. So I essentially just read until I say, I need a break. And then I'll pick up the novel and I'll read that for a little bit until I feel emotionally ready to dive back into the nonfiction book. Here's the question though, because I'm so new to nonfiction, it is entirely possible that the more nonfiction that I read, if I read something that isn't a memoir, like let's say it's like about science. It's Neil deGrasse Tyson's Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. I'm probably not going to have the same level of emotional attachment to that story as like a book about somebody's life. So I don't know, that may change and I might need to reevaluate that in the future. All right, question number 3 is, do you ever switch bookmarks while you're partway through a book? No. I will spend a minute or 2 going through my little bookmark bag before I start any book, and I will choose a bookmark that I feel suits the style of that book. And once that bookmark is in that book, it doesn't come out until I am done reading the book. Question number 4 is, where do you keep the book you're currently reading? 95% of the time, it's going to be somewhere within my immediate proximity. I take my books with me everywhere that I can that I feel is reasonable. So going to the doctor's office, going to a friend's house, I take it to work so I can read it if I have a break that day. And of course I have it while at home. Really the only time that I don't take a book with me is if I'm going out to eat with somebody, because I feel like it would be very rude for me to bring a book when I want to be engaging somebody socially in conversation. So that's the 5% of the time that I don't have a book. Question number 5 is, what time of day do you spend the most time reading? That would be in the evening, because that's really the only time that I get to myself where I am mentally awake. That of course is not on the weekends, because on days when I'm not working, I actually do prefer to read in the morning when I'm fresh and ready to go and I can have like my tea or my coffee with me. But realistically, during the week, the most time that I spend reading is after I get off of work. Question number 6 is, how long do you typically read in one go? This is an excellent question because it's one where I have been trying really hard to keep myself accountable. So I have made an effort, made strides to spend at least 45 minutes to an hour reading every night. Now, some nights my brain struggles to get to that 1 hour, and there are other nights, like last night, I just kept on reading. Like I would take small little breaks, but I kept going, and those are usually the nights when I get a lot more reading done, and I love it when I can have an evening where work hasn't completely wiped me out or a social engagement hasn't completely wiped me out and I could just spend a couple hours with a good book. But realistically, that can't be every day, and it's okay if it isn't for you too. Question number 7, do you read hardcovers with the dust jacket on or off? Off! Off, off, off. I have like such a pet peeve about that because I like to keep my books in as good of condition as possible. Literally the only time I will read a hardcover book with a dust jacket on is if it is a library copy because I can't take it off. That's the only time. Question number 8 is, which position do you mainly use to read? Are people reading upside down? I have a feeling I'm probably going to answer this the same way that most other people do, which is that I read sitting up and my legs spread out in front of me. I do try to read in places where I know that I can't fall asleep. For as much as I love to read and as much as I find it mentally stimulating, reading can put me to sleep very easily. And so my chair in my office, for example, which you all have seen in my other videos, it is not the type of chair that you could ever fall asleep in. It's not comfortable enough for that. It's great for sitting. Don't lay your neck on it. And I get a lot of reading done when I sit in that chair, unlike sometimes when I end up going and reading on the couch and I'm laying in that position, all of a sudden my body starts to just kind of sink down. And then I go, you know, I'm tired. I'd like to take a nap. I gotta sit up in my chair. Question number 9 is, do you take the book you're currently reading everywhere you go? Well, crap, I already answered that. Yes, I do, except for going out to eat, or if I'm gonna like go to the mall. I'm not gonna take a book to the movies, guys, okay? So saying everywhere, no, there are certain places I don't think that you should take a book, but for any reasonable case, it's gonna be there. This is question number 10 and the last question, which is, how often do you update your progress on GoodReads? 2 times, when I start the book and when I end it. Nowhere in between. Here's the thing, it wouldn't benefit me or anybody else for me to update it somewhere in the middle because nobody follows me on GoodReads. I'm not friends with people on GoodReads. So it's really just for me to track which books I'm reading and for me to be able to see how long it takes for me to finish a particular book. That's the best reason. That and being able to track a reading goal. And that is the end of my portion of this video, but now comes the time when I get to tag other people, and I have 2 people that I want to tag. The first is going to be Cliff from Cliff's Dark Gems, and the second is Bart from Bart's Bookspace. I would love to hear your answers to these questions should you both decide to do this tag, and for the rest of you, as always, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, that you all stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.